So hi everyone, Andy here, and in this video I'm going to look at how I record my demos at home. So this is going to be for the song Flowers, which is one of my new songs that I'm about to release. Last week I looked at how I recorded it on the piano instead of wrote the song, and now this is just taking it from that stage and recording it as a demo at home. So there's a lot of different sort of software that people use. I use one called Logic. Another good one's Pro Tools, is Ableton, Cubase. The reason I sort of started using Logic is back in the day when there were all the different programs, Logic just seemed to be a lot better for MIDI. But as technology's grown so much, they're pretty equal now, so there's not really any right or wrong software to use. So I have a pretty basic setup at home. I've got one of my favourite pieces in the studio is my interface, which is a Prism Titan, which is an 8 input interface. So it's got 4 sort of preamps on there, and it's 4 line inputs. But for at home, because I record a lot of piano stuff, I find I need more than a 2 inputter, because I kind of need to record left and right on the piano and sometimes also my voice. So that's kind of where I went for that one. It's probably one of the best, arguably one of the best sounding DA/AD, which is audio to digital, digital to audio converters. But again, sort of technology's improved, so they're all sort of leveling it up. I just prefer this one. I've sort of had it for a while, so that's why I've got the Prism. My speakers are Adam A7Xs, which again, so just a sort of pretty basic sort of home sort of speaker setup. And yeah, I've got some instruments. I've got my Wurlitzer behind. I've got a couple of acoustics. I've got my electric Telecaster and a Warwick bass. So just instruments to sort of get ideas down. So when I recorded this song, the hardest thing to kind of get a song right is getting the tempo right. So I find if I'm just sort of trying to jump straight in and put a click down, it's often sort of too fast or too slow. So at the start of the session, I'll pretty much just record without any click, and I just sort of record the part. There's a really good app I use called Metro Timer, and there's a lot of different apps that do the same thing, but that's just the one that I downloaded. And if I just play the Wurlitzer loop, which is the first bit I sort of put down, it's really cool. So basically I've got this, and then with the app I just literally tap it. I think it's a bit more double time, so. And then that gives me my click. And then, so this one says, so I've got like 1, 5, 6. So then I just load that into the session, and that sort of gives me sort of my template to start sort of getting the other parts down. So if I just play the click, another thing I find that isn't very easy to do is to play along. If I just mute these, if I just play a click, it's very hard to get inspired and give any sort of feeling to playing when you just got literally kind of like a gang, 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 sort of metronome click. So a cool thing that I always do sort of for Logic is over here on the right, there's this like little loops kind of section. And you can kind of click on all sorts. There's like kits, there's like beats, you can have like this, for example, if I press guitar, there's just like these little guitar loops if you wanted that kind of thing. But I go to the kit section, and then there's just loads of different drum loops. The original tempos are in there, but the cool thing that Logic does is it adjusts the beat to match the timing of the project. So for example, if I've got that one, I've got this one, there's all sorts of different things. So if I play, so what I normally do is I'll drag in, the one I went for was the 60s songwriter drum 4, which was this one. I had quite a lazy, loose kind of groove, that kind of lazy fill at the end. So that's the one I went for. So if I add that to the, I'm going to take the click off now because I've got the track. So if I add that to the Wurlitzer part, and then I could replay the Wurlitz as that drum beat and have more sort of feeling to it. But I'll just show you, for example, if I just use that loop, I'll show you how you can kind of drop different beats in. So if I don't have that, I could put this drum beat in, which gives it a different feel, maybe. So it can sort of dramatically change the track. So sometimes it's a cool thing just to get inspired by, you know, to take the track a different way because it's going to put a different sort of drum beat down. So I find, yeah, this loop section sort of really helpful. So yeah, once I've got, so if I play that now, so this is my drum and my Wurlitzer part. I had that. And then the next part I put down was the bass. So I'm going to grab the bass. Yeah. So I get the bass. I often like to use a plectrum when I play the bass because it gives it quite a nice sort of chuggy kind of feel. So yeah, with the bass line, I literally sort of pretty much followed the original sort of bass line that I wrote, which is the same as the Wurlitz one, which is like a, and then the. So if I play that along to the track. So yes, I recorded that. If I put that bass down, here comes the bass. That's with the bass now that I recorded. And parts-wise, that's pretty much it for the verses. I wanted to keep it really minimal and give some, like, make the chorus sort of lift and sort of take it somewhere, but then pull back to that sort of emptiness, which I sort of really liked. So yeah, I haven't really added anything else in for the verses. But one thing I did do is in the chorus, if I just play the basses on its own, I added in this other sort of harmony bass, which is this one. And I felt it had a really nice, gave it a really nice dark sort of feel. So that line was this. I had the other bass line on its own, so I've got. So that's the other bass line, so I've played them together. I've got that. Throw the drums in, and the Wurlitzer. So yes, that was the bass line, and that literally stays the same again throughout the whole track. So as I said before, it's a very simple track. There's not too many parts in this. So I then put down a guide vocal, and the mic I used, or the mic I use at home that you see in lots of studios, is this one, which is a great sort of home recording mic. So if you're at a home studio, it's not got much isolation, or there's going to be background noise. It's very good because it doesn't really pick up too much of that sound like a sort of studio condenser mic would do. So yeah, this is awesome mic, the Shure SM7B. So if I just play the guide vocal I put down. We used to talk like we were human. I've got a few plugins on there. The two plugins I've got are these two. So I've got these two. So I've got the CLA Vocals, which is a Waves plugin, and I've also got the Valhalla Vintage Verb. And I actually did. There was a course that Ryan Tedder was doing, and he was an amazing sort of pop songwriter, and he had some of his presets on there. So I literally just sort of copied his presets, and they're great because you can literally just open the plugin, stick it on the vocal, and it sounds great straight away. So as this is a demo, you know, I'm just wanting to make it sound great straight away because I can start putting all the other parts down rather than worrying about, you know, getting stopped. I do find the biggest things of writing demos at home, I like everything set up and plugged in and ready to go because it just speeds up the process, and you might get, you know, excited about playing a certain part and you're like, put that down and put that down. When if you're sort of having to reconnect things, plug things that can slow you down, and you sort of lose the inspiration. So yeah, I love these two plugins because I could just throw them on the vocal, sounds great straight away, and then I could sort of worry about it sort of later. And I am going to be recording the guide vocal again, a proper vocal in the studio. So, you know, as a guide, it sort of works perfectly. So those are the two plugins I've got. So I'll play that.
We used to talk like we were human, but now we just waste the hours away.
That's with the vocal. The actual guide vocal I put down, I actually changed the vocals even in the last day, you know, of the studio, because I always like to sort of keep sort of picking at the lyrics. So I always find it's good, just, you know, even if you're not happy about a certain part, just put it down, just get the vocal down, because you can always change it sort of, you know, any time. So when I originally wrote this song, I just played it on the piano, and this is where sort of the demo can really change how the song sort of comes out, because I decided to pick up a guitar. I thought it'd be quite cool to put some guitar in it. So I just picked up the guitar, and I ended up going a little bit crazy because all of these other tracks are all guitars. And yeah, like I said before, you know, sometimes you get into a bit of a flow and you start sort of just layering and putting more parts down, which I think is a great thing to do because you can always take them out. And sometimes you'll find that you'll take other parts out and you'll leave one of the guitar parts there, and that's the main bit you use. So this song actually went a bit more kind of sort of rocky, guitar-y at the demo stage. And if I play the first guitar part, let me grab the guitar. Yeah, the guitar I've got is a Fender Telecaster, and the plugin that I use for this is just literally the basic stock Logic plugins. And I used this, it's kind of like a Fender copy. They just sound great. So kind of, yeah, so the first part I put down was this kind of, and if I play that part, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this amp away and the mixer. So I'm just actually going to just play these on their own. So let me unsolo all of these. And this is guitar 1. And I only added it for the chorus. So we have. And that just literally moves between, you know, the two chords at the E major and the A minor. I then added a second guitar. Well, one thing I really love to do with guitars, I forgot to mention, is I love to record the guitars twice and then hard pan one guitar left and one hard right, which gives a really lovely sort of stereo sound. So if I just quickly play without, this is what the guitar, actually let me play both. This is what the two guitars sound like normally. And now if I hard pan them left and right, you get this, which sounds great. So the second guitar part that I added was this build kind of bit. I'm going to put these together. So I had this one. Which is like a... And it was basically just sort of running up, playing sort of octaves up to that sort of, back to the E. So and then dropping down to the low E. So if I play that, and now I'm going to mute the other one and play the other one along to it, I have this. So that's the other guitar line. So that was for the first chorus. I just had those two guitars, and also for the second chorus, which I can see there. Now, I'm going to skip the solo part for now, but I then started layering more guitars, and this is where sort of when you're writing a demo, I find it's great just going to put more and more parts of sound and just to see where it goes. I actually kept pretty much all of these in. So here is the guitar 3. I had this. Oh. Which is... So if I add those together, I have this. Just going to put the drums in, see a bit of... So with all those guitars in, I have this. So then, yeah, my next guitar, so guitar 4 and 5. Now these are very low in the mix. I left these really low just to kind of add a bit more build towards the end of the track. And I'm just going to play these two. So I've got, again, I've recorded 2 guitars and hard pan them left and right again. So guitar 4 is this one. Which was a... And then I harmonise, if I play that one, I had this harmony guitar as well. You play that. And that other guitar was... So that is all the guitars. If I put all the guitars in together now, we have this massive wall of sounds. We have this. So, yeah, the only other part was the bridge section, or to the solo-y kind of middle 8 section. And I thought, since this was going down the whole sort of guitar-y route, I'd do a little sort of guitar solo-y part. Not too sort of solo-y, but just like a little sort of guitar melody, repetition melody. And this is what... So I came up with this one. So let me just play this one on its own. So I have... Let me start with this. And that little bend I really loved because it's had that sort of Queens of the Stone Age-y kind of sound. So that was the solo guitar part. I also added in the only 2 guitars which I didn't hard pan left and right, which are these 2 guitars. I've got this guitar here, which is... So I've played that when it's... That one there, and then I harmonised that with this one. So I had... Which is just like a little harmony underneath. And together it was a really nice little harmony. So if I add everything in now, if I take all the solos off and you can hear the whole sound, I have this. And I really liked it, the way the two melodies kind of sort of weaved in and out of each other. So this is one that takes the dominance at one point, and then the other one sort of comes through, which I thought was really cool. The only other thing I have going on is on the master bus, which is, if I go here to the mixer, on the bass and the drums, I've just got an LA2A, which they just sound great, just boost the sound a little bit. And on the master bus, I have all of these on. So I've got a Kramer tape, then I've got a API, which just balances the levels. I've got a SSL comp, and put that back on. I've got this thing, the Iron, which this sounds amazing. I got this, so the sale came up on Plugin Alliance. I think it's only like £15, and normally it's like £300, but this is an amazing sort of plugin. And finally, I have this one, which is the TR5 Stealth Limiter. And this is just literally, again, nice and easy. One of my friends that's a producer sort of set this up for me. So as soon as I've got my tracks and I want to kind of sort of bounce the track down and sort of boost the volume of everything, I just put this on, and yeah, it just ends up sounding great. But those are the master bus plugins I'm using. So I hope it's been interesting. I did do a video last week, which is how I recorded the song Flowers, sat down at the piano. And next week I'm doing another video of recording the song in the studio. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel to keep up to date with everything. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.